A very good evening again, and welcome to the night show here on the United Hotspot. My name is Webb, always glad to be alive and ready to go again. Just another day for us to talk about Man United as we do build up to the return of action of the English Premier League. Man United traveling to Luton, an important game for United as we do hope to maintain our rhythm that we have seem to be building. Goals coming through from our big striker, and of course the points are coming. A press conference today, the first ahead of the game by Erik Ten Hag, like I told you, gave an update on Luke Shaw, which we know by now. It's a doubt for Luke Shaw. We'll talk about the detail of that and what it means. That this means there will be a chance, another opportunity for another academic kid to get a chance into the senior team. We'll talk about that and who that is and whether it will be a feasible, idea, a feasible prospect for the young lad to come through. How exactly is Erik Ten Hag going to manage without Luke Shaw, Lisandro Martinez? He loves left-footed players playing in the left-footed positions. None of them is fit. What exactly is the plan? A lot he spoke about as well, talking about the Ineos team and what they're doing, talking about all the rumors and the speculations about a new director of football or sporting director at the club and what their role will be. He seemed to be admitting to what we already have been saying here. I think the things we've been saying here, that he has been doing things by himself, having the wrong people around him, people who are clueless about football, were true. Indeed, Erik Ten Hag has been feeling the Lord, and he says if there is a structure of that is comprised of good people who know football, it is only good for him because it then eases his work. At some point, Erik Ten Hag confirmed that he was in charge of everything. The load on him was too much. We'll talk about those details. It was a beautiful press conference, and this time around, unlike usually when he shies away from certain questions that are not exactly on the pitch and the tactics and the players, this time around he was giving answers, and there could be a lot for us to dig into the answers we were giving as we do look to have a positive Manchester United. Jose Mourinho as well dropped a beautiful interview with a five Rio Ferdinand, and he spoke about his time at Manchester United, denying the reports that came out earlier that he had said he has got unfinished business at Manchester United. We'll talk about that interview a bit because he also gave a beautiful expose of things at Manchester United at the time when he was there about 5 years ago, but also he spoke about Sir Jim and how he knows him very well. A lot of Man United talk today, including also a bit of a twist because apparently Man United might not be willing to pay the 10 million pounds to price Dan Ashworth out of his job at Newcastle. What could that mean? Could it be a setback? Are we then going to be going back? Because apparently there was already an agreement between Dan Ashworth and Man United. It was now United to speak to Newcastle because the guy has a running contract with Newcastle. All that we're discussing. My name is Webb. Welcome to the United Hotspot. That could be the longest intro I've given here on the United Hotspot, but it's because there is so much on, off the pitch, and in between former managers and present managers everywhere. There is a lot of Man United talk to get into. Welcome aboard. Let's get proper into it. In case you're just joining, I hope you had a good day for yourself today. It is a Thursday. Of course, we count down to the weekend. For some people, their weekend starts on Thursday. If you love party, I think by Thursday you're in a party mode. In some countries, tomorrow is a public holiday, so the weekend is going to be long, really long. It's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and you go back to work on Monday. Well, for me, every day is a working day because this here is my job as I speak now, to just come to you and update you, beloved Manchester United. Now, let's go proper into this whole talk. So, Erik Ten Hag gives his first pre-match press conference, talking about Man United and the squad. He confirms that Luke Shaw is not okay. He's not 100, but he's hoping that by Sunday it could be better. But he says he's still not doing well, so there is a possibility, like we predicted, that Luke Shaw might not be available for our game against Luton. So that means for me, what are the options now? There is this young lad who we signed last summer from Watford. That is Harry AMASS. He's young. He's a baby. Really, he's only 16. He has been training though with the senior team for a couple of weeks now, and the people are saying that he could be, of course, one that can come in. If I've watched a few, because I watch under 18 games, I've watched him play for our under 18s, and he's a brilliant player. Remember, our under 18s have been perfect this season. They have won 14 in 14, unbeaten, no draw. They are just winning for fun, beating everyone left, right, and center. He has also played for England. They have won. He won, I think, the juniors, the under 18 championship with England. They beat Scotland, I do recall. I think no, they beat Denmark, I think, in the final. I think they beat Denmark 1-0 in the last game for them to win. So he's got some bit of experience for himself in terms of playing in front of fans, but of course, you don't expect him to make his full debut in such a big game in the Premier League. But he could have a few minutes on the game. I expect him to be in the squad, Harry AMASS. I expect him to be on the match day squad. That alone is good. Is good introduction for a young player like that. Atmosphere of being at in a big game. Of course, it's an away game, but doesn't matter. Kambwala's first game as well, the few minutes he got were away from home, so that's okay. It's a good introduction for a young player like this. He's good, he's solid, and like I've been saying, I think if we look into our academy, we've got some very good youngsters. There is a boy called Shea Lassie. He's a brilliant footballer. He plays as a winger. Lately, wingers are not considered as midfielders. They are more forwards. He's one for the future. There is a boy called Fitzgerald as well. He's a midfielder. Beautiful footballer for Harry AMASS to start as the left back because he's the only left-footed player in the defense who has been training with the senior team. So they certainly, it wouldn't make sense to think that he would be starting, but he could get a few minutes. I expect him to be in the match day squad on that day against Luton. So let's hope we see another youngster excite us off the bench at least. But going proper into the real talk of then, with Luke Shaw not there, because if today is Thursday and between now and Saturday, you don't expect knowing Luke Shaw. They assessed him and the injury was not too bad, but he's still complaining. He's not comfortable. So, of course, Erik Ten Hag will not want to risk with Luke Shaw. He will certainly rest him if he has to. But in the event that he's not there, what then is the plan? Do we resort to playing a back three? I think Erik Ten Hag has played a few times with a back three, but that would be disrespecting Luton in a way. Especially the fact that we are just building, even with the back four, we are just building a playing style. It would be, I think, a huge risk to try out a back three against a team like Luton that has given teams a run for their money. Ten Hag himself, while speaking, was confirming how he feels Luton has been improving every day. They have been looking better and a threat more in more recent games. So there is no way he's going to come out there and try to play back three because of on the central defender. Of course, the back three would then have Rafael Varane, who Jose Mourinho says is his baby because he's a kid to him and will always be, because he gave him his first chance at Real Madrid. But there is Varane, there is Harry Maguire, and whoever, of course, Diogo Dalot. Who do you think, by the way, they can play well? Then that would mean what Erik Ten Hag would do. And by the way, it could be another way to play this game, and I think it would make a lot of sense. So if we play the back three, and but that's not Ten Hag's style, but if we play the back three, then one of the midfielders would become a schemer. Probably Kobe Maino or Sofian Amrabat could drop in and be the schemer as the number four, but number four is a midfielder. Or play him there as a schemer, but he keeps drifting to the left more to try and balance it. If we are being stretched a bit, he tries to go wide to cover that space in the wide areas. It could be another way to play. And Amrabat has played there before, which in ways I thought were amazing. So then, of course, have your Bruno, have Casemiro, have Kobe, and the other guys, ahead of him, of course, Højlund, Garnacho, and Marcus Rashford. There is no question about that. So how Erik Ten Hag manages the game, again, we will see. I think by tomorrow I should be able to come up with a properly predicted starting 11 based on how the training will go tomorrow. But for now, we can only speculate on how exactly Erik Ten Hag would want to align to assemble his team. Waswa Alan, hi Web, how are you, brother? How are you doing, Alan? How is it going? It is said, I've just seen a report that has come through, and I'm talking about now what Sajim and his team are looking to do. Of course, they don't have a lot of time. I mean, they have been told to be. They might want to, if they're not going to pay, they don't want to pay for Dan Ashworth. They might want to be a bit patient. But you see that these are guys who have got a lot of hunger to work, and apparently they don't have any time to waste. Already they are looking at bringing in some other guy from from Southampton to again be a part of the structure. They are loading the team with experience. The structure is a very serious headache for them. But I've just read somewhere that apparently Sajim and his team, the Ineos team, are planning to bring in Kenyan marathoners and All Blacks, New Zealand All Black players. That's the New Zealand national rugby team, to try and help these players. Do you remember my video that I posted a couple of months ago about us having so many lazy players at the team? And so, if you thought it's only you who saw it, I think Ineos as well felt the same way at some point. So apparently, Ineos are contemplating. This is something I've just seen coming in, I think, from the Daily Mail. They are saying they do want to bring in marathoners from Kenya, because Kenya has the best marathoners in the world, obviously. So they want to bring in Kenyan marathoners and help these people with their, and New Zealand All Black players to try and help these players with their you think, stamina and endurance and stuff, because where they are headed obviously is a marathon, where it's a race to be back up as we can. And this is part of, again, the marginal gains approach that I've just seen Anolin Asguma has just reported. Welcome, Anolin Aliguma. Good evening, Web. Good evening to you. How are you doing? How has been your day? So these guys are saying they want to bring in those marathoners to try and improve, I think, the endurance and the strength and physique of these players, which would be a unique way of doing things. You see, any new regime of managers has always got to try and innovate. For me, I've got no issues with people who innovate. I'll give you an example of Arsene Wenger at Arsenal. If you read this, if you listened to interviews or read the stories about Arsene Wenger and his time at Arsenal, when he joined in as a little known nobody. But Ian Wright was saying some of the first things he did, there are things they had never seen. The way he changed the nutrition at the team, the way the team were playing, the way he was demanding them to train and behave. These are things they had never seen. He was introducing dormitories, at their training ground, where players had to sleep and rest. He changed everything, but eventually those were little things that he changed. Dieting, they had never seen things like that. Those are little small things that he changed about the team, but eventually produced results. Now, for all these things to happen, you need a group of leaders who are daring to change things around, to try new things around, so long as they're improving something on the team. For me, that makes. I was listening to Jose Mourinho, and again, I told you I'm going to marry a lot of things in this talk today. It's just Man United talk, really. Jose Mourinho said he was being asked about his time at Man United, and he said, first of all, you remember with Bash Team, I wrote for saying that the most successful time on his career is him finishing second at Manchester United, and people, of course, were bashing him because that felt a bit derogatory, as if demeaning United, that we have dropped to the levels that we are second place, material. Of course, people did not have a bit of context to it, and Ray Ferdinand asked him about that, and he said the context was, given the rot in the structure he found at United, it was so difficult to even achieve what he achieved that it took him a lot to achieve. He named the squad that won the Europa League. And honestly, from Sergio Romero to, he had, I think I said, he had Chris Smalling, Juan Mata, he had Ander Herrera, he had Fellaini, he had, these are the players he had who won the Europa League. But he said, most importantly, the issue, and which for him he says is one of the most important things now to succeed in football, if the communication between the team, the football and the structure, the players or the team, the manager, and the structure is good and seamless, it's the best thing for you to be able to manage. You realize, he gave an example of him at Chelsea, where he had only him, Peter Canyon, who was, I think, the sporting director, and then Abramovich. So the hierarchy was Abramovich, Canyon, and him, Jose Mourinho. That's the three of them. It was clear. So you want to sign your Didier Drogba, speak to, say, I want Drogba. That's one person between you and the boss. You can even talk to the boss directly, but in the name of Canyon, structure is clear. There's no bureaucracy. It makes things happen. He says at United, with Sir Alex Ferguson and David Gill, the structure was clear. That's why Sir Alex Ferguson was able to work and execute and perform. When he went to Manchester United, he said there was no structure. It was such a confusion that it was so difficult to get anything done. He said something that I even quoted, that in fact, if I'm to post for you that quote, from Jose Mourinho. I'm just trying to relate with what Jose Mourinho said to the situation at Manchester United and why we needed Ineos to come in and change things for us. Look at this quote from from Jose Mourinho. He said, before you you buy new furniture, and we are in the same situation. Before you buy new furniture, you need to clean the house. We didn't clean, of course, there's a lot of things he said there. He repeated himself saying that he did not first clean the house to buy new furniture. In between there, then he said, we did not clean it the way I wanted. He was asked, him, because remember he signed Fred and who else did he sign? I forget the other player. Of course, Eric Bailly was his first signing at United, but in his third season, he signed Fred and I forget the other player. And of course, he's asked, these are not players you think will win, will compete with Man City or the biggest clubs, Liverpool and what have you, to win titles. And he said, you see, he wanted to clean. By his second season, he knew which players he wanted to pull out, but the structure could not allow him to do it. Now that's the same thing. The situation we are in at United is we need to clean the squad before we add on players. Before we talk about bringing in Michael Olise, we need to clean. You need to first clean the house. When you buy a house, you need to first clean it. You don't just bring the furniture and add it, and it will not be seen. It will be lost, and that's exactly what we've been saying. It's all different words to say the same thing. That the lack of structure at Man United has affected even the great players we signed. You look back and think about players like Radamel Falcao. I think many of you forget Falcao played for United, but he was the hottest striker in the world then. His career was destroyed. Players like Angel Di Maria, players like Morgan Schneiderlin, players like Blind, the great best players in the world at the time when we were signing them, Sanchez, name them, failed at Man United because there was no structure. And that was because the people, and in his own admission, Jose Mourinho, the people who were working, whereas they were good people in terms of the business, the Ed Woodwards and the likes, when it came to the football, they had no clue about it. So they were good people and they loved them, but you as the manager had to suffer alone, yet you have no communication with the Glazers who own the club. So it's Ed Woodward, the CEO, who communicates with the Glazers. They don't even come around. They don't care. They only care about the money. So long as Ed Woodward is reporting, making good reports, and they're getting their 25 million quid per year to pull out of the club, they are happy. But you as the manager, you're suffering with this squad and you're figuring out things. It's a huge load on you. Erik Ten Hag in his press conference today hinted on the same things. He was being asked about the whole structure that Ineos is building around United. And he was saying he is happy. Of course, he has to be professional. But yes, he again said it is good if you work with people who know football, who are passionate about football around you. It makes your work as the manager easier. Yeah, he said, I've worked in many scenarios. There are times where I was doing everything. This is Erik Ten Hag in his press conference today. Erik Ten Hag saying this stuff. So you realize how important the whole structure thing is for Manchester United, and that now Erik Ten Hag is also beginning to talk, coming up and admitting that indeed the structure it's been a long time coming. And Olina Liguma, Webb, won't decision making be difficult with Sir Jim, Brailsford, Cloudblow, Berada, and Ashworth? No, it can't be, because everyone has a clear role. You see, it's not the number of people who are there, it's the structure and how the structure works. This is how it is. You know that, and I explained it, I think, yesterday or the day before, Anoline, that the hello, my brother, good evening, Ernest Kavuta, welcome aboard. So you see, when you have a right structure and everyone knows their role, decision making cannot be difficult because there is a hierarchy. You've got a CEO who is the only one who reports to a board. The board is constituted of I think a glazer or two glazers, one glazer, then Sir Jim, then Omar Berada sits on the board because he has to report to it, whereas because he's the CEO, he reports to the board, so he goes there. Jean-Claude Blow as well is being said to be on the board. He's a football person above, and he has more experience in Europe, so he's above Omar Berada. So then below Berada, you've got the director of football in Dan Ashworth, who is giving direction to where he has, football got to go. Then you've got a head of recruitment. Apparently, Paul Mitchell said he would rather seek other opportunities. He's more open to other opportunities. He doesn't seem to be excited about working with United and Ineos. But you recruitment, then a manager. And they talk of some other guy, I forget his name, from Southampton, who is also being spoken about as another one coming in. Now, all these people have different roles. So I told you what the director of football does, draws the structure, like I drew it live yesterday. If you didn't watch it, you can go back, or the video where I said I was explaining why Dan Ashworth is the man we want for director of football. But he does that job, sets the structure. The head of recruitment is supposed to identify, first of all, young players to come in the academy, buy in the academy. The manager sits with the head of recruitment and the director of football, sit in meetings and discuss players together, agree, disagree until they get to a common ground. But they know that above them, the final decision is with the CEO, Omar Berada. So the CEO says, okay, we've zeroed down on these players. What are the costs they have agreed? Then they report to the board. The board will advise. There is a Jean-Claude Blow who has got immense experience, who will advise and say, you know what, this doesn't work. Because he's higher than them, it's at a bigger level than them. You know what, this doesn't work. He sends them back. Go back and discuss better options. Come back with a better plan. They bring back the plan, discuss it as a team. Before, Erik Ten Hag had John Mata and Richard Arnold, who did not know and care an ounce about football. Jose Mourinho admitted this. Everyone who leaves United says the same thing. These people were all about the business, and Ed Woodward was a good man and all. They didn't even try to pretend like they know football. So these many people you're saying are actually to make the team stronger, but everyone has got a role to do, to contribute, pull together in the same direction, but the decision making is not for everyone. You understand? So that is what they call working in a structure. If you have a firm structure, even if you have 100 people, so long as the structure is clear, that the manager, this is where you stop, this is where the director of football stops, this is your role, this is there is no ambiguity in roles. If there is no ambiguity in roles, the structure, there is no bureaucracy. Because your question was, won't decision making be difficult? That's bureaucracy. It can't if the structure is clear, that everyone has got a defined role. So that is the most important thing. The issue comes when you bring together so many people with different egos, but you've not defined everyone's role. So everyone feels like they're a boss. So it depends on the negotiations that are going on now. When they're convincing these people to come, what are they telling them? I've been in a, you know, I've seen companies that work in funny ways where they hire so many people, but you're not there when they're hiring these people. But whatever they tell them, you're their boss. But when these people are being hired, they are probably made to feel like they're also bosses of their own. So whoever hires them, so they give them to you, but then you know you're clashing. They're clashing egos because there was no clarity. You are the boss, but not the boss, because everyone feels like a boss. So there are power squabbles, and you know how power disorganizes people. But if the structure is there and everyone's role is defined and everyone knows you report to this and it sticks to that, there is no way that there is no incidence where Dan Ashworth is going to be talking to reporting Ratcliffe or Jean-Claude Blow at the board. There is no incidence where the manager Erik Ten Hag is going to skip the hierarchy and report to the man at the top. If that is avoided, that is respecting the structure, then decision making will always be easy. That's the only thing to do. So no issues about that. So that's what is happening. So Erik Ten Hag, again, I'm going back again. I told you I'll keep going back and forth on and Ten Hag, Jose Mourinho, because they are all anyway linked to the same thing. So Ten Hag also spoke about the injuries to Wan-Bissaka, who got injured again. He will be out for a further couple of weeks. So is Tyrell Malaysia. He got a setback in his in his rehabilitation. He got a setback, so he will also be out for a couple of weeks, according to Eric. Excuse me. That's where we are. For Martinez, it's clear. We know when he will be back, unless anything happens. Mason Mount, the same thing. Could be back training with the team. Him and Malaysia, Mount and Malaysia could be back in a couple of weeks to train with the first team, but they're still working on their own and being monitored. Simon Peter Ebanyat, thank you for the show, Web. You always keep us posted about our beloved team. Thank you, Simon Peter Ebanyat. Glad to have you here. I appreciate you. So that's exactly where we are now as Manchester United. The only setback, like I said, is that apparently as Man United might seem to have second thoughts about paying the £10 million, because it's honestly and sort of unheard of for you to pay that amount of money for for a director of football, someone who is not a player. Usually you spend 10 million pounds on a player. But for me, I think the most important person United needs now is Dan Ashworth, the director of football. So whether it means paying 20 million, if we could pay 85 million quid for Anthony Dos Santos, it's okay for us to pay 10 million pounds for Dan Ashworth, a guy who is going to solve the biggest problem United has had. So because we cannot afford to wait, and I'm sure it will be paid. I've also seen a report. I've told you that about the marginal gains and what I've seen that Sajim and his Ineos team want to bring in Kenyan marathon runners and all black, the refurbishing or rebuilding of Old Trafford. Yes, so you can see that a lot of things are being done concurrently. That this man is here to make things happen so fast because the club had stagnated for a long time. We had stagnated for a long time. So the man wants to make things happen so fast so that we enjoy the results as early as we can, which is a good thing to see. Ernest Kavuta, I'm hearing that Ineos are going to appoint Brighton's manager. Well, there are reports suggesting that Disabri is on the radar for Liverpool and Manchester United. Of course, you cannot rule out the fact that Disabi is a wanted manager. Certainly, as Ineos do come in, they may not be planning to appoint him now, but Disabi is a young manager. That's for one. But he has shown what he's capable of. He has shown that he's a good manager with a lot of potential. He has shown that he can play. So whereas yes, I believe he can be a manager of interest. I don't think he's the manager United is going to be going for now. I think he could be in the long-term plan of the club in the event that it doesn't work with Erik Ten Hag. Maybe because they obviously will come into this with a list. They obviously must have come into this with a list of managers that if Erik Ten Hag, because they gave Erik Ten Hag until the end of this season. They don't know how it will go. But as it seems now, it looks to be going well. And the only obvious thing, and we saw reports earlier that he could be given a further 1 year because he's entering the final, I think, 2 years of his contract, which is a risky thing to do for anyone in football. But they are saying they could give him another further year. So that's a good cushion to see what he can do because he has proven that he can be decent, probably also the interactions they have had with him. But that does not mean that they will not have to make a decision on Erik Ten Hag. But I don't think it's going to be happening anytime soon. It could happen, but I don't think it will be happening anytime soon. So that said, I think he deserves is a good manager. He's a good manager who we can certainly keep on the list. However, before we even think about appointing Disabi, we need to decide how we want to play. And that's exactly what the director of football is supposed to do. He should come in and define how is United supposed to play. What brand of football should we play? If Erik Ten Hag cannot execute that brand of football and Disabi is the right man to execute it, they will go for him. If it is Jose Mourinho, who just said he doesn't know where next he will go, but he said himself, he's a good, he knows Sir Jim Ratcliffe. I think they have interacted. He's a fan of United. He confirmed that he's a good guy. He loves football. He's a fan of United and stuff. He has got a wealth of experience and he's hoping. I lucky feel like Jose Mourinho is a fan of Man United or was a fan of Man United at some point before he became a manager and stuff. Whenever he even says, when he speaks about Man United and his time there, he speaks, first of all, he has utmost respect for Sir Alex Ferguson. He has utmost respect. He said it's an honor for any manager to coach the team Sir Alex Ferguson managed. Yeah, he said that himself. But even when he talks, you feel like he loves Man United. You see that he wished with Sky and people were screaming his name and they were shouting for him because they loved him, which is a good thing, really, to see. But yeah, I think the Brighton manager is a good manager, but we don't know which brand of football United with Ineos is going to play. Which football will they want us to play? And the manager they appoint will depend on that brand of football. And that brand of football can only be devised by the director of football. Whether he doesn't, if he came as a consultant and that did only that, if they accept it and approve of it, then they just start hunting for the right manager. And of course, with Dan Ashworth's experience, they will bring more in terms of player recruitment, because I mean, we know what he's done with players like Cucurella, what he's done with players like Alexander Isak, players like Moises Caicedo. So he has got a lot to give. Of course, the core is that, but the job of the director of football, in his own speech, and Ashworth is saying, is connecting the pieces, this piece and the other, because you own the football, the brand of football we play, you own the football that goes, you're the boss of the football. So it's you to make sure that each piece, footballing wise, is making sense. So very big role, very important role, because it's the most technical role for any football entity or a sports entity, which you love to see. So yeah, that's where we are. Now again, going back to the squad and of course the team, I think the thing is the players. There is of course a lot of talk now that Kylian Mbappe, it has been confirmed Kylian Mbappe is leaving PSG. He's not staying at PSG at the end of the summer. Now that, by the way, we might think United he should be uninterested in Kylian Mbappe and what have you. But you see, we've seen the man who is owning football at United now and the level of ambition he has got. If Kylian Mbappe may not be the one Sir Jim Ratcliffe would go for, but Mbappe leaving PSG opens options for so many clubs, because it then means Victor Osimhen could move from Napoli. Of course, the obvious would be him going as a replacement for Kylian Mbappe at PSG, or Marcus Rashford, because if you look around, which elite players do you look around and see and feel can replace Kylian Mbappe? And you remember I told you, I've been telling you that for me the first business we need to do in the summer is selling Marcus Rashford, and I know that PSG would be interested in buying him. Remember, they had wanted, by the way, to buy Rasmus Højlund, you recall. So they have wanted a striker or a forward. So if Mbappe goes, you know that they will need a winger, obviously, high-profile winger to replace him. Obviously, PSG does not really have the best scouting. They have the money. They don't have the best scouting to go and try to look for young, unproven players. No. PSG usually will follow the big clubs and what they have. They will always go for the unwanted or go for, the obvious players, because they have the money anyway. So I think this is an opportunity for United to do a first big business. If PSG really are still interested in Marcus Rashford, which I think they could be, why not? We have an opportunity there. Or we could have an opportunity to bring Kylian Mbappe and I could launch the reign of Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Because I imagine if United signed Kylian Mbappe, of course that would mean breaking the bank. But I think if we do our math properly, we can afford Kylian Mbappe. Because if we sell so many unwanted players or so many players from United, we can afford Kylian Mbappe. But what a way that would be for Sir Jim Ratcliffe to announce his presence at United. I think everyone would forget about Mason Greenwood for a second if United went for Kylian Mbappe. But you see, with the arrogance and pride that Sir Jim seems to come with, I feel like this is something he can go in for, to just show Real Madrid that, you know what, we are as big as you are, because Madrid and Man United are the two biggest clubs in the world. Well, Madrid now are seeming like they are far ahead of United, but Sir Jim can easily close the gap. So just to make that statement, we can hijack. Sir Jim can pick his private jet, go to France, call this Kylian Mbappe boy, and confuse the life out of him. Tell him, I'm the boss. First give him, go to Manchester United. You're going to be the next biggest legend. Imagine Mbappe playing in the same team with Rasmus Højlund and Leandro Garnacho, or even bring Greenwood back in that team. What would happen? I feel like Sir Jim Ratcliffe can cause this commotion in football. I feel like he can do it now that it is confirmed that Mbappe is free. Guys, this man works in silence. I love how he works. He's a smooth operator. So don't rule out the possibility of us signing Mbappe, because this Sir Jim is a man of surprises. He can pull anything. So let's monitor this Kylian Mbappe situation and see. Yes, he could have agreed with Real Madrid, but that doesn't mean he can't change. He seems to be a kind of player who can change, who can turn his back on anyone. But also he knows that I heard Lotti praising Vinicius Junior ahead of Mbappe. So such a small thing can be a reason for him to change his mind. So for me, I am monitoring this Kylian Mbappe situation, guys, with an open mind. That yes, whereas Madrid could have agreed with him, and that's what we've had. That was before Sir Jim came to United. You never know. So you never know, but it's a possibility. And if you do the math, if we sell Marcus Rashford, sell Casemiro, sell, okay, people don't want Greenwood back. Okay, sell Greenwood. I hate to say it. No, let me skip Greenwood. Sell Anthony. Sell who else? Varane, who is going to come and make a proper mark. Huh? And a swap deal can do it well. It's all about negotiating and convincing the lad. And now that we have got the right people to do that, to do the talking, thank you. A swap deal, give them Marcus Rashford and add them 80 million. The 80 million, where do you get it from? Give them okay, that's too much. Give them Marcus Rashford and add them 50 million, and pay him 250,000. Even if it's 300,000, even if it's 350, even if it's 400,000. If we are almost giving Rashford 400,000 pounds per week, give him that and give him a certain percentage of his image rights and what. There is a way you can negotiate, guys. Even if we don't need to have the cash, negotiate the image rights. That's where most of the money is. And let him feel okay, but tell him you're going to become the next biggest legend of the biggest football club in the world. Forget about Real Madrid. Mbappe can come. It's about negotiating, like Anolim you said. It's about how you negotiate and you structure the agreement. If we don't have creative guys, we can't. But if you have creative guys, we can properly, do that. So, yeah, with the situation now, anything can happen, guys. Who knew that we could go to Man City and convince Omar Berada to come out, and he wakes up and just shocks Man City that he has resigned? Who knew? It probably was not about the money, because these Saudi guys have all the money in the world. It wasn't about the money. It's about just showing this guy the big picture that, you know what, you have an opportunity to create history with a serious club, with a serious real club. With Madrid, there is no guarantee. Mbappe to United, boss. Just think about the shirt, man, the shirt sales, the what. And United fans, we are intimate fans. When you're ours, we love you in a certain way and you feel it. Mbappe needs to be loved. Mbappe has been one of the best footballers in the world, but I feel like he has not really got the proper love of football. And you say at Madrid, I don't think he will still feel it. He will still be isolated. He will still be isolated. People will still question him, like the way people are questioning Messi and whether he's the GOAT or not, because he played for Barcelona and not in the Premier League. Mbappe knows that he needs to be in the Premier League, but also Mbappe is too good for the La Liga. Mbappe's pace and game has got to be rated on his performances in the Premier League. He's too good. He will be bored in the La Liga, honestly. It's like coming from France to the La Liga is I think really it's not change. I like the Ratcliffe mode of working on deals behind closed doors. Yes, you could find that, by the way. It's Ratcliffe who confused Mbappe. And next week, while they are on the press conference, they announced that Mbappe is going to join Man United. It's very possible. Guys, be open-minded. In this era we are in now, Sir Jim Ratcliffe, you've got to be open-minded, because anything can happen. I don't mean to excite you, but I'm just saying, guys, be open-minded, because football today has changed. It's about connections. It's about which people you know, but also how you sell your product to a player, how you sell it to a player. Mbappe knows that playing with Kobe Maino, and I've said it here before and I'll say it again, for Kylian Mbappe, playing with Kobe Maino would make him better, far better than he can ever be playing with Jude Bellingham. Because at Real Madrid, like it has always been anyway, there will be a struggle for egos. Jude Bellingham is a big figure and a star of sorts. Now Vinicius Junior is praised by Ancelotti. So then Mbappe comes in. There are so many egos there. Mbappe comes from PSG where, you know, football is on the fringes. It's not in the center and the heart of the game. You want to be in a club where you're the star. Yeah. So, but also, Jude Bellingham does not make his teammates better. Kobe Maino makes his teammates better. So for Mbappe to play his best football, actually, he would rather play with Kobe Maino than playing with Kylian Mbappe. So the best decision for Kylian Mbappe for his career, for him to be able to win Ballon d'Ors year in and year out, is for him to play for a club like Man United, not for Real Madrid. At Madrid, he's going to be lost with a lot. He's going to be lost with the pack. Mbappe and Haaland, this is what the Premier League would push for. They will just, what the Premier League. Let me give you an interesting story of Mbappe and how there is a friend of mine. It's a female, and I was asking her. She was telling she doesn't support any club, but she supports players. And you see the reasons why women support football are funny. So this friend of mine told me she supports Mbappe. Why? I'm like, why do you support Mbappe? Because Mbappe, I think he was eligible to play for his home country, which is his home African country? Is it Mbappe's home country? Is it what? Is it Cameroon or Guinea? And my memory is doing me injustice. So he was eligible to play for this home, Cameroon, but apparently they asked his father for money for him to be summoned on the national team. And he said, no, I would rather play for France. So that alone made this girl like Mbappe. Then he says she also told me she supports Sadio Mane. I'm like, why? It was Cameroon. Yes, I got it right. I'm like, why? Why do you support Sadio Mane? He says it's because Sadio Mane had a scratched phone, been scratched, and they asked him why he doesn't have a new phone with a better screen, and he said because this one is okay, so he's not fancy. So this girl likes Sadio Mane because of that. And then she said the other player she loves is Mohamed Salah. I'm like, hey, why do you like Mohamed Salah? She's like, because Mohamed Salah married his childhood girlfriend. I'm like, the things that make girls love football. Very interesting. But you also think about it, those are some reasons why some of the Arsenal supporters support Arsenal. They will tell you, most Africans who support Arsenal will tell you they support Arsenal because it had so many African players. And that's why they support France as well when it comes to national team football, because it has so many black players. The reasons people love football and whichever teams they love can amaze you. But that was interesting. Anyway, let's get back to Man United talk. So for me, I wouldn't be shocked if Kylian Mbappe was in the plans of Sir Jim Ratcliffe. If these people are smart, they can structure. I've been saying it here. Manchester United has got to go into those bidding wars with the big clubs. That's why I was so happy. I was dancing here when Sir Jim Ratcliffe came out and pulled Omar Berrad out of Man City. I'm like, that is the statement. That is the statement we've been lacking. We've been lacking that show of character to humble these emerging small clubs that think they have made it because they have bought a treble. No, you come and just sort them, put them in their place. Communicate. That was communication, proper, sending a proper direct message. Same thing they are doing with Newcastle. You've got your new money, you're coming up, you think you're big because you've got money. Communicate with them. For Dan Ashworth, for him to work. Let me tell you, Newcastle is there trying to say, we cannot let him go. We need 10 million. Boss, this guy will resign. He will resign if he has to, but they cannot deny him the opportunity to work at Man United now. So that's for me are the statements. So when it comes to these players, now Madrid has had convinced Mbappe to join them, disorganized him. Let Sir Jim Ratcliffe pick up the phone and call that boy Kylian Mbappe and confuse him, and we snatch him from Real Madrid. We show them that, you know what, we are the men and we are back. That for me would be such a statement. I had never been so excited about Mbappe joining Man U, by the way. Not that he wouldn't succeed, but because back then in the rot we had, you don't want such a young talented player to come and die in that rot. But with Sir Jim now, bring them. Just bring Mbappe. Bring Kylian Mbappe and disorganized. Just send a statement to Real Madrid and the rest of football. Everyone will shut up. By the way, right now, Man U, even in our struggles, we are feared. We've commanded a lot of respect because we managed to pull Omar Berada out of Man City, and now we are getting Dan Ashworth. We are weakening the opposition as we rebuild. We are bold, fearless, and intentional. That's exactly what you do as Manchester United, and that's how you come back. So for me, it's such a good time to be at United, and there is a certain confidence I have that it is going to work, and very soon there is that confidence it's going to work, and very soon it won't take a lot of time until Manchester United is back up where it's supposed to be. And when we get back up, trust me, you know who we are. It will take something more than a bulldozer to move us. Whereas football has changed and there are so many emerging teams with money, well, they don't have the history we have, they don't have the the fan base we have, they don't have a quarter of what we have. They don't have. We just need to organize our structure. When that is done, get the right people in. Basically, those are some of the major things I wanted to speak about. I'll probably not hold you for so long unless you drop a few increase for me. But yeah, I think for me, most of the things I wanted to talk about, I've spoken. I'll be back here at 11 a.m. tomorrow for the morning show, and we discuss some more Man United talk there. Of course, then we shall look at the probable lineup for the trip to Luton and see how exactly we are going to beat these little boys who are not so far from relegation and put them in their place, regardless who will be starting. We should be putting them in their place. For us, as Man United, it's always us going as the we are never underdogs. We should go to win. We should go to bully teams like Luton. These small teams, we should put them in their place. That's what we expect to do. Thank you so much, guys. Thank you, Anolin. Thank you, Waswa Alan. Thank you, Ernest Kavuta, Simon Peter Ebanyat. Thank you, everyone. I think that's it from me for today or for tonight. Let me let you rest and have a good night. See you tomorrow morning. I think just one. Let me make one more round just to see if there is another breaking story that has come through. You never know. I don't want to miss a breaking story as you as I leave. Okay, let me see if there is anything new and breaking that you could be interested in. Yes, let me just see. Yeah. Jose Mourinho also spoke about the blue card. By the way, Jose Mourinho said something important. Okay, maybe let me just sum up for you the Jose Mourinho interview, because it was a good one. I mean, we always love to listen to Jose Mourinho as football people, don't we? So Jose Mourinho spoke about the blue card as well, and he was saying that he would prefer to have that blue card and the sin bin to having a player being suspended from a match because he accumulated so many yellow cards, that he would rather you give a player a blue card 10 minutes out of a game, come back, and that's done. Whatever fault they have committed or whatever thing they have done to warrant that card, it's settled in that game, which makes sense, instead of players accumulating many yellow cards and then they sit out of a full game. He thinks that's a rule that should change, which I think makes sense, because unless someone has broken a person's leg, it's a red card offense. It's okay for them to sit out of another game. Or if they have broken someone's leg, a bad tackle and stuff. But yellow card, for a simple non-sportman like game, things should be settled in that one game. Don't just prolong things to another game, which makes sense for me. And I would probably think I would side with Jose Mourinho. Though I don't think to do that you need to introduce another card. You can just adjust what the yellow card does and say the yellow card can do a sin, can get you in the sin bin for 10 minutes. But if you get a second yellow or something like that, then it's a red card. You make use of the same cards to communicate different things. For me, it's just how you structure them, not just having a referee having to pull cards from their sockings, from their underpants and what. No need. But anyway, there seems to be a certain fascination with changing things and rules about football. They always want to change something. And unfortunately for us, our job is just to enjoy the game in whichever format they give it to us. For us, our enjoyment, anyway, will come in Man United succeeding. And that seems to be where we're headed. Good night, guys. Bye.